So a couple of days, I did a video showcase on AJ. AJ is our internal operating system. And the whole idea about the video was not to promote AJ as a product. We've got so many requests coming in because AJ is not a plug and play. At the end of the day, when we build OS solutions, MVPs, and I'm going to do a couple of showcases on other products today as well and send them over on our YouTube channel. At the end of the day, we build it according to your logic, your flow, how you do business, your connectors, your audience, everything around you. That's how it's been automated or how it builds to automate and solves business problems in time. And yeah, everything like that. So we've talked about it on various other episodes. So please go check out on our YouTube channel if you've got no idea what I'm talking about. But today specifically, I want to answer a couple of questions based on our other video where we actually presented AJ to the world for the first time. And that video is up on our YouTube. I'll share a link down in the descriptions below if you've got no idea what I'm talking about. And following that video, we got so many questions. But one of the questions that we did receive on YouTube was this question here, right here. And this is from Ricky. Ricky is a friend of mine, so thank you so much. And Ricky said, it will be interesting to see a few workflows, marketing, how marketing strategy is drawn up based off feedback from previous strategy, content, and how it plots videos, articles, etc. Show us what AJ does for you, a post meeting, and then thirdly, finances. So there's a couple of categories. And initially, I just wanted to run through everything and post that in one video. But first of all, it's going to be very lengthy. It's going to jump back and forth. And maybe some of you are sitting with the same questions in functionality in your own business that you wish to solve. And the best way would be most probably to just segment these videos. Also, I come here unscripted, so I don't really have a plan of action how to show other than the actual show of the showcase. So blah, blah, blah. You can hear that from all my blah, blah, blah. I've been speaking quite a lot with clients lately. So I had a quick moment and I thought, I'm just going to jump on this video. Not going to have time to post-produce or post-edit anything and just send that to you. So Ricky, thank you so much for this question. Today, I'll be focusing exactly on the one part, which is your marketing question. Now, there's a couple of things with your questions and with other people's question, when it comes to this. One needs to keep in mind the following. In some cases, to answer your question, I need to show you the logic. In some cases, to answer your question, I need to show you the design. In some cases, I need to show you the workflow, the actual automation. Now, so many people just want to see AJ in action, but to see in action is literally just a click of a button, the automation runs, boom, it's in product. So to answer your question better or to, answer your question better, I think at the end of the day, sometimes I need to show you the logic that goes in the design and build. Especially, I'm going to answer your first question, by the way, which is around our marketing and marketing design. And your question was regarding the design and the structure and then the implementation to the output, right? So I'll go through how we design things, what it looks like, and then I'll go through how AJ sees that as a prompt to implement it and its own strategy that it automates. Because for me to say, develop this, first of all, AJ is running on a schedule. So it's going to interrupt that entire schedule. And secondly, the schedule works on various stages, various days. So I'd rather just show you the schedules and then the outcome. When it comes to your question regarding finances, there I will prompt you through AJ as an experience. So that video would actually go through the workflow. We can do it one-to-one. And the best way is to do the operation side with client meeting and that sequence. What I'm going to do is I've got a meeting on Friday, which is tomorrow, and then one or two on Monday or Tuesday. So I'll ask the consent for the client that I'm going to record this. And I'll actually show you the entire journey. I'll fast forward our interview, but then I'll screen record on AJ in action in the back end. So it will show you the workflow, but also the logic and design in action and the outcomes. So each 3 of these videos will have different aspects to it. Some will showcase AJ, some will showcase the back end, some will showcase Claude, some will the design. So yeah, just keep note of that I want to answer your question, and each answer will really depend on which element and which angle I'll show you with that. But I'm more than happy to, if you want to see more of AJ, obviously we'll show that. And I want to show you that in actual data because it's actually running our business. So that's the first thing. So when it comes to marketing, your first question, marketing, especially when it comes to the strategizing of the marketing, I made a couple of notes here that I want to say is when we do any planning, the first thing that we do, and this is me doing this, is as a consultant. So when I work with clients, I do the same, is we work around strategies, we work around the rules, the skills, and all of those things are designed by me and my company with our chosen LLM. So we will use Claude, Perplexity, different researchers, our own company documents and researchers. Remember when I showed off AJ, I said AJ's data comes from 2 persistent memory sources. So that's the things that we actually build. We build those skills, which is the rule books on how it can operate. So that's where we start, even with our marketing strategy. From that, we take the thought or the goal and we kind of like reverse engineer it. There's a couple of things that you always want to answer in our marketing plan that specifically, I'm going to go into specifics now. For that, we want to say, what's the goal? How do we measure the goal? How do we measure the successes? What does success look like? We define it. What does failure look like? And why do we see it as failure? And how do we manage that failure? And then the most important thing of that entire sequence that we do in our planning phase, because you asked the planning phase around the strategy, is we want to define how we manage the no's. I think with marketing, so many people just want to track their successes, but each no has a strategy of their own. So what we do with our marketing is from our internal point of view, and this is the same that we offer with our clients. This is a first go-to with any marketing strategy, is we start with our own logic, our logic as consultants. We do research on the industry, on the norms. That's where we first use our AI, which is Claude in our case, with a lot of actually ChatGPT and to an extent, some Perplexity. Research phase is like just speaking back and forth to your LLM, gaining all the knowledge that you want in order to execute your goal. And then we just start a sequence of brainstorming events. We take topic per topic, our advice, we get feedback from AI, and we start moving back and forth. Once we have that, all of that, we start building the skills. We put the skills in place, and then we do a brain flow logic where we just implement and run the skills, see what fits in where. And then from that, we say, okay, well, AJ needs to automate this, needs to automate this. So the building phase is actually a lot manual work. It's not just AI picking up. It's AI running the automation, our automation logic from that. So the brainstorm is back and forth with LLM. Once we're happy with the brainstorm, we develop a mind map. I'm going to show you the mind maps that we developed. I'm going to show you actually our marketing mind map. So we've got a couple of mind maps that we do. The first thing is we've got obviously our mind map when it comes to marketing. Mind map is basically an SOP of how everything in a certain division kind of like functions. So we've got one for the company that shows very aspects, but then we break it down, each one to their own. So we've got a marketing plan, we've got a content plan, we've got a newsletter plan, we've got a customer journey, we've got a sales journey, a relational journey, we've got a accounting journey. We've got various journeys that has its own mind map and logic to follow. So we basically do the mind map there. In the mind map, we will expose which connectors to use in order for that function to do, what metrics to at the end of the day, track and monitor. And also we will then build the logic of how this can be automated. And that's the automation we build in Claude Code for ourselves, but then we give AJ, which is our own MVP operating system that gets that data from Claude Code and runs with Obsidian and other tools, and then uses its own connectors as shown in AJ's preview to execute that task on automation or on any function like that. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to tell you and any other people kind of like listening to this. The planning phase is where people skip. They go to their AI too fast and they tell it, this is what I want to do. And the planning phase actually should take way more of your time than it usually would have. So in essence, if I plan for a meeting, I would do X amount of time. I'll go to the meeting and all the manual processes follow. Now, when I plan for anything that should be automated, sequence, and kind of like figured out or kind of like executed by AJ, what happens is we reverse that time dependency. We actually spend 300%, that's our internal value, 300% more time on the planning phase so that we can score time in further automated execution. So that's our first rule of thumb, is internally we ask all the questions and we spend 300% more time. So if something were to take 5 days, we spend 15 days to just strategize. So we take the norm standard of time to plan for anything. We put 300% up leveling on that to structure it, to plan it well and everything so that we can save time. A lot of people just want to save time straight off the bat, and that causes them to have to audit AJ the whole time, or their system, or their AI, and saying, no, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong, this is right the whole time. Whereas if you spend that time, that's the first tip I'll definitely give you. Yeah, and so this is definitely one of the biggest reasons why any MVT that we build, because we do it from a knowledge base from consultants that understands business, and we audit your business, your industry, your clients, and we get that all that intellectual data. We define the scope and areas and answer the questions beforehand, and we do apply the 300% rule. That's why when we build anything for our clients, we guarantee a success. And that's why we've always been able to guarantee a success in terms of your own MVP, your own automation, your own AJ, anything that we build to operate your business for you. Because a lot of stock standard things out there that you can just plug in, they don't understand your business. They might understand the research that's going in. Yeah, so it's really when all of those things marry one another. So let me show you a couple of things on our marketing plan. And so, yeah, to answer your questions with that. So I'm going to show you the marketing plan, and then I'm going to show you AJ's back end on how it reads and goes through the logic, and how it's been automated. And I hope that answers your question on the marketing. On the other video, I'll do operation side. Operation side is where I'll actually sit with a client. I'll ask them their permission. I'll fast forward all the, the actual interview, so you can just see boop, 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 boop. And then from that, I'll show the level of how AJ operates. I'll have 2 screens up. I'll record one as AJ operates in the back end, and one the execution on how tasks come alive. And then third is the financial one. You actually said I can use mock data, use one of my company's real data, and I'll run it through. But that will be me prompting. So I need to have a secondary screen to just monitor outcome, and that will be the workflow environment. So I hope this answers your question. I hope this is what you wanted to see. I've got no whatsoever problem in showing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually share my screen. I'm just quickly going to go for layout here. And what I'm going to do is say screen share, screen 2. Let's go for that. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen right now. This is our marketing plan. This is exactly how we develop our marketing plan. And it's very comprehensive, as you can see. I presume it's very well thought of, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom in on a couple of things so we can go through the logic. And there you'll be able to see this is where we start. As consultants, this is where we start to understand the logic, to understand where we're going to plug in what connector. And you asked for, let me just get that wording of yours directly so I can actually look at the function marketing, how marketing strategy is drawn up. Okay, so let's work with the marketing strategy. This is our marketing strategy is being drawn up in our company. This is XGAP's marketing plan. Now, first of all, what you can see here is you can see under the marketing plan, we've got our journey. And obviously all the way to the left, is we've got our guardrails. This is what we predefine. We've got our agents and our objective. So those are the 4 main categories that we start with. And I'm going to start with the guardrails. The guardrails is basically our company policies, branding elements, resources, limitations, and rules. These are the things that we feed into our system so that it knows exactly the boundaries of what it can operate in. So many people skip that phase. They go straight to the others. Then your LLM works on the logic of industry knowledge, industry data, and you'll see inconsistent wording, inconsistent designs, everything like that. So we give this to our to AJ. Our guardrails are set up on Notebook LLM and Obsidian. Those are the 2 tools that we use, and we just bucket everything into valuable skills or markdown files, company policies, branding elements, resources, limitations, and rules. Up next, we set up our agents. That's where we defined each agent, which is basically the agents AJ works with. We define the agent to work on a strategy. In this strategy, you'll see is our obviously our marketing plan. So all of this are not related to our entire company. All of the sequence is literally just around a marketing side of the company. So our plan when it comes to client management, sales, when it comes to research, when it comes to our finances, my PA, everything like that, each will have their own plan of action. And actually, our CMO, even if I expand on the CMO, it will have a complete different structure, how it can operate and what guardrails to look out for and what guardrails to actually excuse and miss. So this is our strategy, our framework of the strategy. So here we have our CMO and we define all the skills. We build skills for research, for design, for copywriting, for analytics, for planner, for auditor, analytics. There's two analytics here. Sub-agent skills, reporting skills, mission skills, fallback. The two analytics is obviously pre or planning analytics, and then actually deliverable analytics, how to work it differently and how to marry the two. Each skill is literally just a recipe book that we build comprehensively to tell the skill, use data from this, use this connector, use this tool, talk to this agent, do this. Literally just the recipe. It's markdown files that we build very comprehensively to allow it to operate within that. So whenever AJ calls a CMO and tells it to plan for something, or a task requires planning, it will automatically pull back the planner skills and start working with that plan. Then it's very important, as I said, in the planning phase, to do the objective. The first objective that we do have is we always want to define the goal. Then we want to define the metrics. Then we want to say, what does success look like? In any marketing plan, I would advise you can have more categories. Those are the 3 categories for our system that is 100% not excusable or should never be ignored. So the first one, define the goal. Our goals in our company, these are our actually marketing strategy plan, is we want to educate a global audience. We want to grow an organic audience. We want to generate leads and create brand and voice awareness. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I love this goals, I'm just going to implement it. But you need to think on your line of work and your audience and everything like that. Because if you're in product sales, it looks way different. If you're in service sales, it looks way different. And if you're in consulting, as we are, our number one rule is we need to get market validation through the education that we bring in, the freebies that we bring in, and a paid customer or a quiet customer through paid campaigning doesn't really bring us any value. We want organic reach, and that's why that's so important for us. It is stupid if you're in product sales or e-commerce to go for the same strategy. So once again, just showing our strategy with this. Then we want to define the metrics. In our company, we define the following metrics: organic performance, paid performance, pay and call to action, click-through rates, conversion ratios and rates, interest versus intent rates. It's a performance which is very important to us. WhatsApp message performance, discovery calls, email campaign conversions, LinkedIn requests. And the biggest thing is, what are we looking for? What does success look like? Success looks like for us is organic needs to have very high reaches. Paid needs to have a very specific outcome, an expected outcome, and then we'll go and define what that outcome is based on every strategy or post that's being made. And then we have a fallback, meaning if nothing happens, our fallback should be at least our brand gets validated on third-party things, especially with SEOX being so massive. Going into SEOX and citations is very important for us to be recommended by AI. Bookings, we want bookings. We want sales and we want customer growth, but we also want our customers to succeed. It doesn't help. We get customers, we implement MVPs with them, and at the end of the day, they don't, succeed. So these are kind of like what success looks like to us. This gets highly specified in our customer journey plan. So once again, we're not showing our customer journey plan, we're on the marketing side of things. So that's the objective definition in our plan. Then obviously next we're going to look at the journey, which is kind of like the customer journey, but it's more the journey of inside the marketing scope of things. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is, let's look at our normal memo and notes. So how this will happen is, I've got memo and notes on my phone. I've got notes everywhere. I use something called Whisperflow and my notes, where I back and forth new ventures for us, ideas, campaigns, everything. So I'm still the input of how this operation's managed. If you've got a marketing team, they get a bucket to just input their brainstorms and ideas. They can do physical presentations. It doesn't matter. But this is a basic feed that's just memos and notes. AJ then scraps my memos and notes, and from that scrap builds a memory sandbox of what we can offer and how we can offer it. So it suggests back to me and said, Dion, based on all your memos, let's focus on this week or month or whatever. And based on this focuses, here's a couple of recommendations on things to post, to offer, to strategize, to, just put out the offer there. But from our Whisperflow notes, there's a deep research that's moving in, and this is where Perplexity, Google, ChatGPT, Claude Code, Gemini, and Manus is being used by AJ to do the deep research. And then obviously we've got in our marketing plan, we've got something called WhatsApp message scrapes, AJ live scrapes, as I mentioned in the previous video. Every single communication and thing for me, it doesn't store your data on a secondary place, so don't worry. It literally just picks up keywords, key discussions to keep in consideration when we market, when we advertise, what are people looking for. So we really can spend much less on our marketing. Just to give you an example, with XCAP, we usually in the past fluctuated depending on campaign to campaign. We usually spend around 10,000 Rand, which is a lot and not a lot, depending on how you see it. In marketing a month, that's about 120, that's 120,000 Rand a year. But through this, we are currently spending $870 on paid marketing a month. So that's 9,000 Rand a year. So that's less than a tenth. And our click-through rates, our conversion rates, our sales have all increased by at least, I sent the stats out the other day. Sorry, if I knew I was going to say it, I would have had the stats there, but at least by 20%. So our marketing costs way down, and our conversion ratio way, way, way higher, and our customer success journey way higher. So that's something that this allowed for us to do. Now, all of this in summary, this gives AJ a list to list a campaign map. AJ takes all of that data and then it gives us, and I'll show you later on how that looks like, a campaign map on what we should focus on and campaign for the week, for the month, for the quarter. It will give me a topic. From the topic, there is a strategy involved where it produces the podcast, things for me, things for my wisdom series, not yet mature series, off the cuff series, our XCAP service series like this, and my personal venture series is all then taken from that topic to give an angle for each one so that all of the angles kind of like collectively come together. And so that's the topic. I'll show the preparation phase just now. I wanted to show you that, but that's an automation. So it's already been predefined and pre-set up, but I'll show you the logic on how AJ uses it just in a moment. And then obviously from the topic, we've got our podcast section, but then we also have our newsletter. Our newsletter is very strategic. I plead to any single company out there to have a newsletter, but have a strategy around your newsletter. If you don't have a strategy on your newsletter, you do not know how to manage everything. Let me just give you an idea. So our newsletter doesn't have a lot of followers. And even if it did, with newsletters, if you go into your newsletter, I can literally see the people that signed up. Yes, the emails, the names, everything like that. But I can actually see if they open it, if they scouted through it, if they clicked on it and anything. So the valuable use I can use in a sales journey just from newsletter engagement is so much more valuable than anyone can think. I literally had a friend the other day that said to me, "Oh, thank you, I receive your newsletters." And I showed him, I said, "You know what, you receive them, but I can actually see you not opening them. And even if you open them, I can see you not scrolling through it." That's the power of newsletter analytics, but also from a strategy point of view, understanding that you can use newsletters as part of your customer journey and sales experience to increase your sales and engagement or validation. It's way more powerful than everyone sees. If you don't have these things in place, not talking to you, Ricky, talking to everybody, if you don't have these things in place, this is a good news for us as consultants, because this is when we come in and say, let's develop something for you, and we will now be able to guarantee an increase in everything, because you never had this in place. And even if you did have it in place and you manage it wrong, you will see a change 100%. So our newsletter obviously looks at a couple of things. There's the newsletter thoughts, there's the analytics, there's the personal human intervention, and then there's the social media journey that follows from the newsletter. So a couple of things, not going to mention everything. The newsletter thoughts, we've got the structure. Each cohort or avenue should have a different newsletter structure. We look at general subscribers, weekly, monthly, event specific, like your Mother's Day newsletters. We look for initial subscribers, for lost inactive subscribers, for success, and each gets a different customer journey of their own. What can or should be included or thought of is obviously your YouTube podcast links, your reviews and testimonials, deal of the week, month, or whatever, bundled offers, referral code, subscription models, one-to-one coaching sessions, and link to webinars and workshops. Then we run analytics, as I mentioned now. We look at opens and no clicks. Opens and no clicks from us will get personalized emails with a secondary testimony or pre-recorded video because we don't want to repeat. We just want to validate or add value to that, and that's how it works. Opens and clicks with no sale will get a reminder or of a coupon if there's anything like that. We send a WhatsApp message or DM or personalized email just with a different angle. Don't repeat what was said. And then opens and clicks plus a sale will then fall into our sales journey. It will get repeated there. But then also when people buy or use our service, there's various things that we look on. Once bought, never again, 3 months, no buy, 6 months, no buy, 12 months, no buy. And then obviously we look at the unopened. If a newsletter is completely unopened, we get personal again, send them a fresh email from a personalized email address. Maybe it's just lost in spam, the subtopic, and we track and personalize every single one of them to fold it back to the logic. And then we've got parameters, and this is what AJ picks up, where human and a personal intervention is required, that AJ should not automate, where it should notify us to pick up client relations. There's a couple of rules that we put in place, but that's also why that is important. So this is the logic that AJ uses to continue with that. So what else is there? Oh, it expands quite comprehensively, as you see. So when I look at the podcast, for example, each series gets designs on the topics to discuss. The series, then AJ books a meeting with me directly where we brainstorm the topics that we would like to discuss so that it's my words, my angle, my approaches just strengthened by AI. From that, AJ will design the script. I would then either approve or decline a script. And based on that, there's 2 angles. If I approve a script, it lands in my teleprompter app and it schedules a recording time on my calendar. So on my calendar, I know I can just go to this recording studio, I can record, have my script ready and go for it. And from that, so yeah, it will say Dion records the episode. The post-recording goes to Riverside for editing. Depending on which episode it is, either AJ will edit it or I will edit it or my team will edit it. Then it goes to the research agent and design agents to create thumbnails and copyrights and descriptions. A project gets handed off to Buffer. That's our tool that we use to distribute. And then we track A/B testing automation. AJ scouts for metrics and results. AJ does competitor analysis. We tell them our competitors. AJ does comparison metrics, meaning how does this episode compare against its A/B testing against itself? How does it compare and kind of like, feature or work against other of our own episodes, and then obviously company or competitor analysis as well. The performance there, the well performance, the transcript will then go ahead and, sorry about this. I don't know why this is now there. Okay. Well performance transcript goes to a designer team to publish LinkedIn articles. Okay. When I say designer team, designer agents, we'll take the transcripts of the well performance, do LinkedIn articles for us. AJ boosts all posts that is relevant to a server sector. So if it's relevant to a specific server, we've got a budget available for that. It will automatically boost that. And designer agent renders Instagram and TikTok posts content. Bad performance gets re-rendered. So AJ will go ahead and say republish on description, wording, and thumbnails. You'll see a lot on our YouTube channels is various descriptions, and it will continue until a defined success metric is picked up and goes to well performance logic if performed well. If I decline any script that AJ, remember, because that is, I need every single thing that it recommends needs to be approved by me and brainstormed with me. That's in our sequence. If I decline anything, it goes through another brainstorm session, or I just manually just put it out of the box. So yeah, that's how that content is created. Part of the customer journey is obviously the results of a journey. We track the newsletter signups and then the discovery call or bookings. The newsletter signups follows newsletter logic. It's a separate journey. That's the logic that I explained. But the discovery call triggers custom automation journey. So once a customer comes to us, and that's the product that I'll show in the video with the customer in automations, already you now see the plan, but then I'll show you the automation part of that. The customer journey thoughts, yeah, this is very comprehensive. There's key factors to, determine what is considered a win for us, what is considered a loss, how do we handle wins, how do we handle losses, lead process thoughts, your social media campaigns, win, what's a win, following, store, visit, or buy, losses, get them signed up to a newsletter. If We do not get them as a customer. We want them as a newsletter, and we will get that results of them. That's super important for us because then it can follow its own logic based on that. And then obviously direct site visits if there's anything. The customer journey, new followers on social media. We send out an instant auto DM, welcome, heartwarming message, sign up to newsletter, free content, based on comment on this, and you'll get this is to get traction validation, keep the algorithm happy, as I say, new site visitors. And then we just literally go and track and say if someone's buying or not buying, how do I handle that? And then we've got a summary of our discovery call. Our AJ does this. That's what I'm going to show you in that video. When we've got a discovery call, it picks up I had a call in a meeting or in my calendar because it knows my calendar. So once the meeting is done, AJ will actually send me a survey message on my phone to say, how did the meeting go? And ask me for feedback. That feedback it uses as intellectual memory on approaches to build. But then when the client wishes to approve, I just tell it, yes, thumbs up. And that's what I'm going to show you. It automatically designs the invoice. It creates a custom in QuickBooks for me. It drafts an email with all the highlights from the invoice and what was discussed. It tracks payment success. And then if that is been done, it hands off that client to our customer journey client, which will now continue the onboarding and this entire brain map of it all. If anything fails, it will audit and submit secondary information campaign. So just to give you an example, if I were to say do a mock-up on a fake presentation or a mock-up on any fake statements that I give it, as you suggested, it won't work because it's invaluable data. It knows no one, executed it. I need to bypass everything to do that. So I'd rather just actually show you and how it runs and operates. And that's why we're making the 3 videos. So that's our marketing plan in a gist. Let's just stop the screen share here. And then I'm going to share my screen, which is, So that's the marketing plan of everything. And now I'll show you exactly how AJ takes that plan into an action, which is basically just an automation that runs on Claude Code based on the information that AJ gives Claude Code and all the various connectors. This is how it looks. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. So, So what you can see here now, this is literally AJ's brain. And this is based on our podcast series and our content delivery series. So now you can see on Monday mornings, 7:30 a.m., there's Wisdom Prep, which is a series that I do. So based on all that back and forth discussions that we have, AJ will now go ahead and select the topics from the drive sheet that we put in place. You'll see all the connectors it has here in place. From the Wisdom Prep, it will do a Wisdom script. It will tell me exactly what models it uses. From the script, obviously the Wisdom resource built on Sonnet. It will tell you exactly when that runs. So that's why I said I can't show you unless I show up exactly for the time, because here's the scheduled automation. It's loops and automations. It will design the Wisdom social for me, which goes to Buffer. And it gets that on a Monday, but it only posts that on a Tuesday. Then we've got the Wisdom newsletter block that we're going to incorporate in our newsletter. Going to write the Not Yet Mature newsletter intro. And then obviously from a Wednesday does our Not Yet Mature angle, deep research, our Not Yet Mature shorts, the episode, the social media, record and publish, newsletter intro and record and publish. It also has a hard stop card, meaning if the research or anything was incomplete, please do not continue. We put those in place. And then we've got a research try. So if anything were to happen to our tokens or anything like that, it will actually stop and just, continue with that. Thursdays, it runs our off-the-cuff script, off-the-cuff PDF. Off-the-cuff is unscripted, but it gives us the sequence of previous questions that was asked to remove that. So when I read live questions, it prepares that questions for me, and it filters it out automatically based on the rules that we put in. So Off-the-Cuff is a series that we answer business questions. A lot of people come with legal questions, financial questions. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. So I don't want to read a question and I am legally in a spot where I can't answer that. So it mitigates my risk completely for me. And then my Off-the-Cuff angle, newsletter assembly, weekly feedback, and then based on everything, it will actually tell me what's my monthly recap on workshops. So it will tell me how my workshops presented. It will give me recommendations on what workshops to offer based on anything that we talked about. Everything gets offloaded to Buffer via Zapier. So this is the automation that AJ follows. This is AJ's automation, by the way. AJ set this up herself. It follows Buffer and Zapier, and then it will tell me when I need to interview, meaning I need to publish. And then the channels that it goes to is to LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Beehive, which is our newsletter blog. These are the integration that AJ uses. Google Drive, Google Sheets, Gmail, Google Calendar, Beehive, Canva, Zoom, Calendly, Monday.com, Zapier, Buffer, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, web search, Riverside, Spotify for podcasters, and Standstore. These are what AJ uses for this marketing execution. This is just marketing execution. It's got nothing to do with our other businesses. Each of our businesses have, or not each division or sector of our business have their own logic based on what I showed in AJ. So if I expanded on that operations, this is what would pick up. This is the expansion of that thought and process. And then I click just on the automation part and it will show me the automation. So yeah, I think literally, I hope that answers your question. I hope that's literally what you were looking for. This is obviously for the marketing angle. I'll answer the other two questions when I have time. I'll record the one with a client. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Enjoy. Thank you for joining in. For anyone else, this is what we do. This is what we build for our clients. This is why we automate businesses, build MVPs, get your time out of your business, free up your time for things that matters most, and then obviously automate everything that takes up your time and solve your business problems. This is what we do. Love it. Thanks for the questions. Keep them coming up. Cheers.